I'm closer, I have good news.
Alright, it's our review show for The Mandalorian Episode 2. Let's start this one off again by saying this review will be full of spoilers. If you haven't seen the first 2 episodes, go back and watch them. I can't urge that enough because you want to see this before it gets spoiled for you. So, unlike my first video, we're not going to do a full recap. We're going to hit on more of the bigger moments that caught my attention and my overall thoughts, opinions, and theories about those. First off, I want to say this felt like a very short episode. It felt like a mini episode and kind of just an extension to episode 1. I'm thinking maybe because we got 2 in the same week, that next week and our subsequent weeks are going to be more full 45-minute to an hour long. That being said, I still thoroughly enjoyed this episode, and the first thing I want to talk about is the appearance of the Jawas. They've been one of my favorite species ever since I was a young kid and I saw the original trilogy. I thought they were adorable. From the first, I was absolutely hooked on them, and I wanted to know more. So I was pretty pumped to see them so prominently featured in this episode. I thought that was a real treat. I thought they lived up to the original trilogy version. The one thing I did notice, maybe it was just my color blindness, but I thought the eyes looked a little off. Were they a different color? And if they were, is that just because they were a species of Jawa or a tribe of Jawa on a different planet? Does that change their color? Or again, were they the same color and I just don't remember or can't see properly, which very well could be what it was. So other than that, I thought they were super cool. You know, I thought they acted very similar to the ones in the original trilogy. I like to see how many were just on that sand crawler, and I like that they used their original electroshock gun in the scene that was just like a typical train heist from a common Western film. It was really cool to see that. So I liked that entire scene, and then these Jawas featured throughout the entire episode, which was even cooler. The one thing, again, I didn't get, why did they want that egg so bad? If it's only a delicacy to eat, like, they sure gave up a lot of parts for one meal. Like, I don't think I would do that over Oreos or anything special. So that threw me off a little bit. I wanted to see, once he got that egg, a little bit more in that story. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers, and I kind of liked the whole idea of the Jawas, even if the ending didn't work very well for me. But beyond just seeing the Jawas again, I thought this episode was really an important view into the Mandalorian as a character. Episode 1 showed us that he kills a lot of people. He kind of kills indiscriminately. He turned in a bunch of bounties and he tried to take many more, so he doesn't really have a problem taking a life. I mean, he took IG-11's life real quick after they had just worked together to get him to the damn bounty, which he couldn't have got to without IG-11. So it kind of like painted him in this morally gray light. And then this episode kind of doubled down on that in a way. Like, he definitely wants to protect Baby Yoda. That's obvious, but is it for the sake of saving the baby? Or is it just to save his bounty, you know? So we see that reinforced in this episode. He was quick, again, to protect the baby, but as soon as it came to killing the Jawas, he had no problem going as far as to disintegrate them in a scene that gave new meaning to Darth Vader's line to Boba Fett.
No disintegration.
As you wish.
I really like that this series seems to be giving new meaning to the stuff we got in the original trilogy and the prequels. I think that's going to be really cool. And it's going to make it more interesting to go back and watch the original film and pick stuff out that, you know, maybe in the past it was a cool little quote or a cool little nugget of Star Wars knowledge, but now there's going to be more to it. And I think that's going to be really cool for all fans to go back and see the connecting threads between this series and the films. But back to the episode, he had a few moments with Quill. Is his name Quill or Cool? Where he showed that he was quick to trust and respect him. He had no problem fully embracing Quill. In the span of 2 episodes, he already has the utmost respect for this Ugnaught and recognizes how valuable he could be to have around. He's inviting him on his ship. The man that we thought was the strong silent type, who is going to be a lone ranger, is already inviting someone aboard. Which takes me to my next point. The character Quill is quickly becoming the wise mentor of the series. He's teaching the Mandalorian, but also challenging his perception of himself as a Mandalorian. I think it's a very interesting character dynamic, very similar to Yoda and Luke's relationship, and I expect to reconnect with Quill eventually. And inviting him to be part of the crew leads me to believe we're going to get a larger crew way faster than I think any of us expected. We won't be that Lone Ranger for long. I think the images of Cara Dune, IG-11, and the Mandalorian altogether might be more than just marketing images. And although Quill is not included in those images, I think we're going to get back to him and he's going to join our group eventually. I think he will be a part of the crew because we need that mentor, that older, wiser character, as well as that mechanic role. And speaking of the crew, because no crew would be complete without our little green friend, let's get to the elephant in the room. Or you could say the big, furry, floating rhinoceros in the room. Baby Yoda, I'm calling him Little Yodel, has the Force and he knows how to use it. I don't think he was previously trained. I don't see that being where they're going to go with it. But I do think his species has an affinity for the Force and experiences a much closer relationship with the Force than other species. The use and knowledge comes more naturally to them. They may just have a higher midichlorian count than other species, and that would explain they have more of a symbiotic relationship with the Force than other species. I don't see Baby Yodel using the Force very often throughout the series. This series is going to focus way more on the bounty hunter crew and not so much on the Force aspect, but he will be using the Force every now and then. It's not going to be the more complex Force powers. Not in my mind. I don't see that happening. In this episode, they showed using the Force is very draining, even a basic Force power for Little Yodel, but it is possible. But I absolutely loved the way he held out his hand in the classic Yoda Force pose. That scene brought all the feels on. I loved every second of it. It was incredible. And it was just full on Star Wars fun. That's what it was. Not to mention, Baby Yoda is so damn cute. And if anything happens to him, I will never forgive Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. But I think the perfect way to introduce the Force into this series is in this way. I think they're doing a hell of a job getting that special sauce, that mysticism into this series in a way that doesn't overshadow The Mandalorian and what we're really focused on. So now that the Force has been introduced, where does it factor into this series? I think that the decision of whether to turn in Baby Yoda and then the consequences from not doing that is going to be the arc of this first season. Baby Yoda has earned the Mandalorian's respect, even though he doesn't understand what happened and how that baby saved his life. He knows that he saved his life, and that's what counts. He has his respect, and respect feels like a big thing to the Mandalorian. I don't see him turning Baby Yoda in. I see him refusing, and that kind of puts him in that fugitive role where he's running away and surviving and trying to fight off these other groups that are wanting to find Baby Yoda, and most of them want to kill him from what I saw. We saw IG-11 and the Trandoshans both had those tracking fobs, and they both had orders, or so it seemed, to kill Baby Yoda. So what other groups are there, and why do they want him dead when we know that our client, an Imperial officer and an Imperial doctor, which we will talk about in a different video, want this baby alive? So what is the deal with that, and how are we going to survive those other groups still coming at us? I also want to talk about what this episode revealed about the knowledge of the Force in the universe at this time. The Mandalorian and Quill both seemed unable to make sense of what happened with the Rhino. And only 28 years after the fall of the Republic, where the Jedi were the most prominent, they were the warriors and the peacekeepers in the Clone Wars. They were the guardians of the galaxy, you could say. And it's like the same situation that we see in The Force Awakens, where Rey is surprised the legend of Luke Skywalker, the Force, the Jedi, all of it was real. The Jedi had such a major role in the Republic. It just goes to show how strong the Empire's hold was. People were afraid to pass down the knowledge of the Jedi, pass down those stories for fear of persecution. and by refusing to pass them down to their children, it caused the Jedi and the Force to die out in a very short amount of time. So what did you think about this episode of The Mandalorian? I know it was kind of a filler episode. I think we can all agree we want them to be a little bit longer, but I want to hear your theories. Are you on board with calling the baby Yodel? Please say yes. Or what would you call the baby? If you don't like Yodel, give me a name. We need to come to agreement because Baby Yoda is not going to cut it much longer. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below. Leave a like if you like this video and you want more Star Wars content. Go ahead and subscribe, and may the Force be with you. Thank you.